You know, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, and even going into my teens, Back to the Future was one of my all-time favorite trilogies ever. Now that's not groundbreaking to say, but I would just think about it so much. For me, without a doubt, it has the most iconic car in movie history. And also, me being a Transformers fan, I never really gave much thought to what a potential crossover could look like. I mean, I imagined, right? But today, we finally take a look at Gigawatt. Welcome back to Hobbies with Jose, everyone. It's great to have you here. And today I'm excited to take a look at the Back to the Future / Transformers collaboration, Gigawatt. As you might already know, I do have a pretty extensive backlog of figures to review and customize. But not too long ago, I got this guy in the mail and I just knew he would be my next project. And to start us off, we have got to check out this box. My God, it looks like it was pulled right out of 1984. The original Transformers logo looks absolutely gorgeous, and it's accompanied by the Back to the Future logo as well, celebrating its 35th anniversary. We also have their collaborative stamp up on top, with the Delorean side of the X showing us an electrified flux capacitor, which is a nice little touch. Even the Hasbro logo's been retrofied and perfectly fits in. I mean, it would look weird if it wasn't the old logo. And of course, Gigawatt's name right next to it, which curiously doesn't list his function here, but we'll find out in a bit. The artwork depicting Gigawatt is nothing short of perfection as it captures the pose of Marty McFly in the iconic Back to the Future movie poster. And it's also a fantastic homage to the original art that adorned the G1 packages too. I am so glad they did that. The entire look is completed by the iconic grid pattern in the background, and it doesn't stop there. On the top, there's a nice simplified transformation sequence as shown on the original G1 packages as well. There's obviously more steps to it than that, but we'll get to those later on. The back once again has both the Back to the Future and the Transformers logos, with a great shot of the DeLorean leaving a memorable fire trail behind. And right below that, we get a classic tech spec sheet to clip and save, although I'll be damned if I'm cutting into this gorgeous box. But here we're given an actual function for Gigawatt, which, not surprisingly, is a time traveler. And because the description is listed in multiple languages, the details are kept short and sweet. And I quote, "You're never out of time when you're a time machine. When Marty and Doc Brown need a ride through time, Gigawatt is ready to fly." I just love knowing that Doc and Marty have a reliable transformer on their time-traveling adventures. And since you're not given an actual decoder, the specs are made clear to see. Again, due to multiple languages, instead of listing each specification in words, we're given pictures instead. Strength is 7, not too shabby. Intelligence a 9, I guess you do have to be pretty smart to travel through time. Speed is 10, making it pretty easy to reach 88 miles per hour. Firepower is a 6 though, giving Gigawatt his only major weakness. Not totally powerless, but not the strongest in the bunch. Flux capacitor is a 10, again making time travel even possible. And clock is an 8? I guess this means he's not always on time? Interesting. The nostalgia doesn't end there, however, as we have some nice pics of both bot and vehicle mode. And to be honest, they could be renders. They're small enough where it's not exactly clear, but they're nice shots nonetheless. But on the other side, we have this image from the movie showing us the iconic scene where we see the DeLorean for the first time backing out of Doc's truck. What's really interesting is how this side of the box opens up, maybe to let us do this. I don't know if that was their intention, but I do love that awesome detail. And look at that awesome insert. We have some blueprint style images of the DMC DeLorean sans any time traveling specific circuitry. But here we have the main piece himself, Gigawatt. And just right out of the box, the sculpting on this is pretty impressive for a figure this size. The cabling and piping on the sides is intricately detailed, as is the complex circuitry on the back. There are some details missing, like the cables that come out of the vents in the back, but what it does have does a great job of representing what we saw in the movie. Even the body itself has these miniature lines sculpted in to imitate the brushed metal look of the stainless steel body. One glaring omission, however, is the lack of the DMC logo in the front. I have to imagine it might have been due to licensing issues. I've seen other Back to the Future DeLoreans not included as well. But that little missing detail doesn't take too much away from the rest. Even the wheels themselves look great and nicely molded. And they're functional too. They can be folded down to convert the DeLorean into its flying mode. And that look isn't complete without the included Mr. Fusion. It's so awesome that it came included, and it's removable too. Look at that detailing. So tiny and yet so crisp and clear. Amazing. Now let's talk about the paint a bit. While the sculpting and painting is quite surprisingly well done, the paint job seems mostly adequate. Mostly. The gray paint in the front looks good and all, but sadly no paint was applied to the headlights, leaving them rather hidden from the rest of the grille. And for all the nice molding and detailing in the back, it looks like there was just the bare minimum amount of paint applied. One part that looks utterly fantastic though is the license plate. Just as with Mr. Fusion, the paint application here is crisp and clear. Apart from Mr. Fusion, he also comes with his lightning rod, which can be attached to the back just like in the movie, and is ready to grab the 1.21 gigawatts to go back to the future. It's nicely sculpted and made of a really soft plastic. Unfortunately mine, as with many others it seems, came rather bent out of the box. I was able to fix this by dipping the bent section into boiling water for just a couple of minutes and it fixed it right up. Kids, if you're not of legal boiling age, please ask a parent for help. And the weapon itself can be neatly stored just underneath the front section. Except for a few bits sticking out, it's kept pretty well out of view. Another cool thing about this mold is that it actually has opening gold wing doors. Now what's actually opening up is a bit more than the doors themselves, which is for transformation, but the overall look still works and looks quite nice. Just don't expect any inside detail to be molded. The fact we got opening doors at all is feature enough. The simple fact that Gigawatt is a heavy retooling of Sideswipe is nothing short of impressive. On the other side, I can't imagine the DeLorean coming out of any other figure. But the way in which extra complexities were added to the transformation to give us a new character in a new vehicle is a true feat of engineering. And speaking of transformation, let's get this car into the time-traveling bot himself. Man, time traveling never looked so cool. Although his transformation is nearly identical to that of Sideswipe's, he has enough differences going for him to truly make him his own character, including the opening gold wing doors hanging out on the back, flux capacitor sitting squarely on his chest, and overall color scheme. And that flux capacitor is such a nice touch, considering there's no way you could have added it to the inside of the DeLorean. I do wish it was better painted to represent how it looked in the movies, but hey, it's there and it's cool. And just below that we get another cool detail, all the important dates that Doc and Marty traveled in time, except 1885, but only because there's just 3 dates available. And just as with other markings, these numbers are printed flawlessly. Curiously though, the legs also have flux capacitors molded into the design. I'm not sure why Gigawatt would need 3 flux capacitors, unless he's traveling to other dimensions? I mean, sure, why not? It's all the rage now. I love that head sculpt too. Adding Doc's goggles was a great touch. Wish he also had Doc's expression though. The overall proportions on this guy are great, though the only thing sticking out are these shoulders, just like in Sideswipe. This isn't helped by the Delorean having a much larger hood compared to Sideswipe's Lamborghini-inspired hood. This also prevents Gigawatt from having any kind of a molded waist, as the hood leads right into the legs. Still though, the overall look works quite well. Articulation-wise, the head sits on a ball joint which can spin around and tilt side to side, but the up and down movement is severely limited. Shoulders can rotate 360 degrees, they'll just need to avoid the doors in the back, and can extend out 90 degrees. Biceps can swivel 360 degrees, and there's 90-degree bend at the elbows. Sadly, no wrist rotation, but can move up and down due to transformation. Legs can move forward and back a very good amount, and can also do the full splits. Knees don't have a lot of bend, I'd say about 45 degrees. And the feet have slight down movement, but fantastic ankle pivot. His gun sits pretty well in his fist, and there's an additional feature where you can attach Mr. Fusion to the back. Unfortunately, due to the way the arm is molded, he can hardly hold his gun this way. Thankfully, Mr. Fusion can also be attached to the top, making it much easier to hold. I do prefer this look as it makes more sense to have Mr. Fusion sitting on top, as it would on the Delorean. Plus, I just think it looks more visually interesting as well. The lightning rod also comes into play in bot mode, and can be attached to his arm in either peg hole, or even onto the gold wing doors as well to store it in the back. Overall, I cannot recommend this figure enough. If you have any interest in Transformers or Back to the Future, and how could you not, you should grab this guy if you're able to. The few shortcomings he has don't deter from the overall enjoyment I got from him. In fact, the only gripe I had, being the paint job, I do hope to improve upon in the coming weeks, which hopefully you'll be able to join me for that as well. It should be a great project. And if you like what you saw, well, you know what to do. All your support is absolutely appreciated and helps the channel to grow. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again real soon. Take care.